Let me also bring in Faraz Saeed, who's joining us from Pakistan. Faraz, you've heard what General Kulkarni as well as General S.P. Sinha had to say with regards to why exactly this would have happened and the way it is essentially happening, the timing, etc. For us, unlike a lot of other Pakistani guests who usually resort to rhetoric, the only difference here for us that you've rather been a little bit more calculative. You've embraced the fact that your country is going through perhaps the most distressing at times. And the reason why I ask you this question is that don't forget that you have a backbreaking inflation, you have a depreciating currency and a precariously low foreign reserves. But despite that, one thing that you have been extremely consistent and you all have always come up with innovative ideas, and I must tell you this as someone who's been covering internal security, that we do see, despite the kind of responses that India has given to the dastardly attacks that have been carried out by the Pakistanis, despite the surgical strike, despite the airstrikes that actually took place, we have essentially seen that you've come back with something very innovative. And as I would like to share this with all our Indian guests too, General Kulkarni, General Sinha, as well as Qamar Agha, I am given to understand that you no longer have just launch pads which are now brimming with terrorists along the line of control, but what they have essentially done are two things. One, you have civilian houses in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir which have converted into these terrorist launch pads, which would essentially means houses which are closer to the border has been used as a launch pad, number one, which has been spread out. Second, the training does not really take place right now just along the line of control. It has now been shifted to the hinterland. For us, the problem here is that for all of you who've been essentially saying that aman ki zarurat hai, how exactly would you really expect any of this to happen when day in and day out these attempts are being made? And if you say that, look here, we have nothing to do, as one Pakistani guest said about a few days ago, that these are freedom fighters. These are no freedom fighters. If they were, how do they have access to M4 carbides? Let's begin on that note that yes, this is a policy that Pakistan has adopted for a very long time, unwilling to give it up. But how long will you continue doing it?
I mean, thank you, first of all, for having me. The point is that Pakistan's economy is in a bad shape. Pakistan's GDP is in a negative growth. Pakistan's foreign reserves are depleting. Pakistan's economy is in crisis. India undoubtedly is a bigger economy. That's a fact. And I will not contest over this fact. Because it's the biggest fact of the day. But I would want to suggest that we have to wait on the investigation of the agencies of whether it was Pakistani hand behind this dastardly terrorist activity which killed about 5 Indian soldiers. Because I have always been of the view that if there is solid proof in the hands of the government of India that it was Pakistan behind these attacks which killed Indian troops, the government of India should raise this and should take this moment to highlight how Pakistan has been doing this all on the international front. But because it's only the sources right now, and of course whenever there's a terrorist activity either in Pakistan or India, we have a habit of blaming each other whenever there's such an attempt. Yesterday I was debating on your channel with Arnab, and I said that there was this ex-general of yours who said that American weapons have been used in attacking soldiers, the Indian troops. I said that the same American weapons are being used against Pakistani forces as well. I mean, Pakistan lost 23 troops just a month ago, and Pakistan has been victim of terrorism, as I've been suggesting. But we have to wait on investigation and let's see what is the result. Because again, we condemn terrorism, either it's on Pakistani side or the Indian side. No sane mind will condone any terror activities. And if there's a proof, the government of India should raise it. Why not?
For us,
send Pakistani from India or High Commissioner, send him back. I mean, Why not do that?
Okay.
Should be the
Faraz,
of India's response.
if you are referring to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa attack that took place, now if you're essentially trying to usually go back to Qamar Agha, what the Pakistanis love doing, saying that, okay, look here, the Indians are essentially doing it. Of course, we would love to believe the fact that we can carry out anything that we want across the border, and we would perhaps, I would say, as someone who's been covering the defense forces, that with a lot of pride, but that's not the reality for us. You would love to blame it, but the reality is this: your counter-terrorism department, which has basically been carrying out those forced abductions of the Balochis, they are the ones who are basically now responding to it. Qamar Agha, I want you to respond to what Faraz also has to say. Faraz is now equating the fact that the usage of M4 carbine by the terrorist and the M4 carbines that he is basically referring to, that has been recovered in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, are the same.
No, they may be same, that's not a problem, because the Pakistan-based militant organization, they have access to Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, Americans have left a lot of weapons there. So these weapons, they must have got it from there. And they have been using very sophisticated weapons for a very long time, mostly American, sometimes Chinese, sometimes other countries, they are getting it. The problem is, as my friend was telling from Pakistan, that need for investigation, need for, more information should be collected, before declaring the culprit who was behind it. We know, we have the bodies of these people, who were involved in these killings. And this is not the first time. This same tactics, is going on for decades, almost now. And we have seen whenever there is a crisis in Pakistan, they try to divert attention towards India. That is a very old. This year, they have big problem, economic as well as political problem you are facing, the Pakistan is facing. So therefore, we were expecting, something happen. Secondly, as General Sinha has mentioned, after 370, abrogation of 370 article, peace was returning in Jammu and Kashmir Valley. Large number of tourists were coming, and investment was also going to come to this region. A lot of companies, Indian companies, were willing to invest. It's a big line, big in the development program government of India is having, especially the Prime Minister Modi himself has taken keen interest in development of this region. So these are the basic things. Pakistan doesn't want development of Jammu and Kashmir region, doesn't want tourists to come to that place. So they're deliberately creating a situation whereby the tourists will think twice before going to Jammu and Kashmir. The attempt is to hinder, progress that is taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. So they have been doing. Secondly, another thing, this is the election year this year in India. We have seen in the past also, they try to meddle through this. They create tension at the border. They create, they deliberately kill certain forces belonging to the Indian security establishment. This is what happened last election, or just before the last election, and this year, they have already started this process. Secondly, they create problem here. Tension becomes when there is a tension at the border, then they go to their own people, tell, look, threat is coming from India, unite behind the army. Army has lost considerable support among the people of Pakistan themselves, now. And so therefore, the best thing is always there, the big threat from India, because the information which we are getting from Pakistan, a lot of people are coming from Pakistan, keep coming, meeting us in different countries, They are telling, the country is in a bad shape. Army has lost credibility. People generally believe that this is the army which has lost all its war with India. Secondly, they are responsible for the creation of Bangladesh, second partition of the country, and but still army continues to play a dominant role, a major role, the most powerful institution of the state.